It's all interconnected, and this is where that next part of learning to reframe and manage our stress on a deeper level actually influence your skin as well, is because it's like a domino effect in your body. If you have a stress in your life, multiple stresses, most of us do in this day and age. So let's say you've got this sort of stress in your life, and it's like a domino effect inside of your body, and the triggers and how that affects your even your hormones, the way they're meant to function. Like, hormones are simply like communications in your body. They signal different pathways in your body to communicate with different cells, and the pathway for these hormones to, I guess, travel along and then connect with a receptor, which a lot of them, that's their function. If there is a imbalance in the hormones, disruption to the hormones, the right hormone isn't going to connect with the right receptor. Um, and this is where we see metabolic issues and all those sorts of things, problems with our cycle. This is where we can experience deeper endocrine disorders, and that is things like PCOS and endo, um, as well. So this is where it can, if you have one thing, typically you have a couple of things going on. And if it's left untreated, if it's left unmanaged, it can ripple into other things too. So this is where the stress point of view is important, to learn to manage it in a deeper way, rather than, like I said, just going for a spa day here or there. That's not managing it on a daily basis. That's not re-teaching your body and your mind daily to see things differently. Um, and I remember, like, one of the first times I went through an NLP process, and I didn't realize how, probably I didn't realize actually prior to this. No, this is why I wanted to do what I did with NLP. It was my first like coaching program, was I didn't even know it was NLP, so that's irrelevant. But I remember when I realized that I was stressed, but the way I was dealing it was to be like numb, like to flatline. Like, I wasn't overly happy, but I wasn't necessarily overly unhappy. I was kind of just like on this flat line, and definitely not experiencing joy I could have experienced, and also avoiding the lows in my life. And I realized I had totally avoided the what should have been, not should have, but could have been the low points in my life, instead of actually feeling those things. You do what you got to do, we have to keep going, we have to get up. The show must go on, kind of thing. So never stopped to deal with anything and just kept going, which pretty much all of us do, I think. And it's a survival mechanism. Like, we need to do it. So I'm not saying it's good or bad. However, it gets to a point where you look back in hindsight and you're like, shit, like, that was a bit of a tough point. And like, maybe you really went through it and you felt all the things, or maybe you didn't at all and you just totally avoided it and now you're paying for it. And I think that was my experience. So yeah, and when I realized that, a lot of other things started coming to the surface as well. Um, so it's funny that, yeah, like I said, your body remembers things, your body keeps score, what your mind tries to forget, and it really does. And once you start sort of unraveling one thing, a lot of other things will come up from there. And I say that in a way of like how intelligent the body is. Um, and I don't want to say that in a way to like overwhelm or scare you from uh delving into this sort of thing, because it's the best thing I ever did, and it put me on a different path in my life. And well, the path I believe I'm supposed to be on, which is here doing this, speaking about this. And if it wasn't for that unraveling, if it wasn't for feeling the things and learning how I learning how I operate, learning how I perceive the world, I think that's the essence of part of the point in this human life, in this body, and how fortunate that we have the knowledge, the education, the science, the things to sort of break this down and learn, okay, this is how I've operated, this is how I'm currently operating, but it doesn't have to be this way. I can choose to operate in a totally different way. Like, how cool.